Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Cracking the Codex for Codex Orks. This week we are talking about the Bully Boyz, which is probably the most anticipated, maybe the most competitive of all of the detachments in the book. How are you feeling about this one, John?
Well, apart from disappointed that people are being boring and not wanting to just go cult with speed and just throw things forward at them and shoot them from point blank, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah,
I
fine.
mean, you're in that book, in that camp as well. I asked which detachment you wanted to cover, and you chose Bully Boyz, so
It's because I need more data for cult with speed. Because if we're going to do it, I'm going to make sure we're doing it correctly. So I want to
that's
actually
very fair.
squeeze in a couple of games just to
Yeah.
make the mistakes on the tabletop before expressing that bad information to people. So
Yes, the only the only detachment that I've actually played Orcs wise so far is Bully Boyz, and so yeah, it's a good one to go with. All right, so Bully Boyz, what have we got?
boom.
As always, if you're an Orc player, you do get the War. The War is a fantastic rule. So you choose it in your command phase. Sorry, not you choose it at the start of the battle round. So if you go second, you do have to call your shot. Your opponent gets to go through their entire turn. Sometimes that's an advantage. The benefit you get to advance and charge with all your units. You +1 to your strength and attacks of all melee weapons in your army. This is obviously incredible on anything hard hitting. Spoiler, Mega Nobs. And then you also give your entire army a 5-up invulnerable save. Normally, you only get this for one battle round. It's a good buff, but that's a little bit limiting. But what if you got it for 2 battle rounds? That's right. That's what Bully Boyz does. So for the second War that you call, it doesn't have to be straight after the first one. You can space it out if you want to, but realistically, you're probably going to be calling it on turns 2 and 3 a lot of the time. All models with the Nob, Mega Nob, or War Boss keyword get a second turn of War. That's fairly pivotal because that means that not only do you get your heavy hitters hitting heavily twice, you also get to take, for example, big units of boys, put a War Boss in there, and get that 5-up invulnerable save, which, in my opinion, makes this detachment a better Green Tide than Green Tide, which may be a controversial opinion, but I think the upsides of this detachment, really overweigh what you can bring with the Green Tide detachment. So what do you get in Bully Boyz?
Right. So starting with the enhancements. First one is Teleporter, which is a war boss in Mega Armor only. Essentially, the bearer's unit gains the deep strike ability. So really nice toolkit.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. This is the sort of auto take. You're going to be putting on a war boss in Mega Armor, obviously. You're going to be putting in with a squad of Mega Nobs, obviously. They're going to have the twin kill saws, obviously. You're going to rapid ingress them, obviously. And then you're just going to advance and charge something. And you're going to have a great time. And your opponent is going to not have a great time. Well, that's the hope, anyway.
Yeah. Or they'll have a great time, but they will lose. I think that's the ideal goal, right? That you win,
that's the Orc.
But yeah.
The Orc goal, absolutely.
Right. And then the next one is Big Gob. So that is infantry war boss model only. At the start of the fight phase, you select one enemy unit with engagement range of the bearer. That unit must take a battle shock test at a -1. So it's all right.
It's aggressively fine, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. The place that I could see this having real value is if you wanted to run units of boys or Beast Snagger boys and you wanted them to actually do some damage in combat. Because the thing that shuts down those units is Armor of Contempt style effects where you're reducing the AP. If you can go in, force the battle shock test, maybe your opponent fails it and then they don't get to use their Armor of Contempt. That's probably the best place for it. I haven't been putting it in my list, but I can see a use case.
Yeah, and it's also the other angle of fight on deaths, all those sorts of aggressive stratagems that people might pop. Suddenly, if you are killing them or trying to kill them, they don't get their value, perhaps. So
yeah, if this was you make your opponent battle shocked, obviously an incredibly strong rule. It would be an auto pick. The fact that it hinges on your opponent making a roll makes it a little difficult for me. I don't like having rules in my army that I can't plan around. But yeah, no, the fight on death point is really important, actually. this might be something that you take if your meta techs more and more into melee to deal with your melee. That could be a tool there.
I'm glad I could help there. Right, and then the next one is the biggest boss. So it's an infantry war boss. You just add 2 to the wound characteristic of the bearer. So
this is the least impressives.
It's just spare points, right? If you've only got 2 you've actually picked and you've got the points for it, maybe. If you can't think get the other one in.
This is the 4th that I'd put in. If it makes up points that you can't fill another way, sure. But it's not bad. It's just I'm not excited about it. +2 attacks, incredible. +2 wounds, hopefully that never comes up.
And then finally, Ed Stomper. So this is named after you, I hear. So it's an infantry war boss model. Each time the bearer makes an attack that targets a unit that is below its starting strength, you reroll wound rolls of 1. If they're below half strength, you can reroll the wound roll.
Yeah, this is pretty solid. You want to put it on. You don't want to put it on the mega armored boss. You want to put it on the foot boss who's going with the knobs, and then you want to use the grenade strap to get a unit below the starting strength. That's the easiest way to sort of kid off. You're probably not going to have a lot of shooting in this list, so grenades is realistically how you're going to be enabling that. And yeah, it's aggressively fine. I really like it on the foot war boss because in the war he gets, I can't remember, it's either 9 or 10 attacks, which you're hitting on 2s. It's just really...
a unit of normal knobs, there's 10 of them, so there's more attacks to be re-rolled as well. So it's getting that efficiency on higher level of attacks, right?
It's the bearer only. It's not for...
Oh, is it only the bearer? Oh, excuse me. Yes.
It's still fine. It's 10 points. Like I'm not upset about putting this on my list. Good suite of enhancements there. I think there's one very good one, and then there's 2 quite good ones, and then there's one that's I'll leave at home.
It feels more hits than misses, so which is always good. Right, so straight on to some stratagems. We've got 3 battle tactics this time, and notably, no 2 CP stratagems, which seems to be a trend that we're starting to see. So maybe they've kind of learned from their mistakes. I say mistakes.
No.
Design choices.
All of this was written before the game went live, so probably not.
I'm trying to suggest they know what they're doing, Ed. God.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying that we haven't seen the evidence of it yet. Anyway, moving on.
Right, so the first one is Arm to Datif for 1 CP. It's a battle tactic in your shooting phase or the fight phase. Specifically the fight phase, so not just yours. 1 knobs or mega knobs unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time the model in that unit makes an attack, reroll the hit roll of 1. If the war is active, you can just reroll the hit.
This is really good. Twin Saws, Power Claws all hit on 4's base. You're going to attach war bosses to them, so they're hitting on 3s, but 3s are not particularly reliable. And if your opponent has any sort of lightning fast -1 to hit, stratagem or something like that, it gets very peaky. So if you need to kill something, spend a CP, just roll them over. All good there. Great strat.
Straight on to the next one. Cut them down. It's a very nice battle tactic. So in your opponent's movement phase, just after they have selected a unit to fall back, 1 knobs or mega knobs unit that was within engagement range of that unit. When they fall back, all models from that enemy unit must take a desperate escape test. When doing so, if the war is active, it's a -1.
Yeah. So 1s and 2s, your opponent takes some mortal wounds. It's fine. This was a strat that lived in 9th edition in the core rules. It wasn't used a lot. It was occasionally used. It's now mortal wounds instead of models dying. It's fine. I'm probably not going to be slamming it much unless, it causes me to...
It's those kind of weird situations, right, where...
It's a toolbox strat, but it's a very, very specific Allen key. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. There'll be times where you go, I'm glad I've got it. But, how often? Right. And then for the final battle tactic, we've got Hulking Brutes, which is your opponent's shooting phase just after they've selected a target. It's a knob unit or a mega knob unit that was selected as a target by 1 or more of the unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time they attack that unit, it's worsening the AP. So it's basically armor contempt / void armor.
Only for the shooting phase, though, right? Yeah. So it's good that once you're in combat, you're probably feeling pretty okay about things. You just need to get there. That's the... So having some shooting phase defense is really nice.
Yeah. So then going on to the normal stratagems. So we've got 2 arrogant to die. So that's in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after they've selected the target. It's 1 knobs or mega knobs unit that was selected. Till the end of the phase, each time a model is destroyed, if that model has not shot or fought this phase, roll a d6, but adding 2 if the war is active. It's rolled on a 5 up, so a 3 up if it's the war, and they can shoot or fight on death.
Yep, I said this before. I think this is the best version of this rule they've ever printed. Obviously, you're paying 1 CP for a 50% chance normally, or 2 CP for a guaranteed fight on death. This is a 66% fight on death for a CP. Oh, it's only in the war. The war is going to take up the entirety of the part of the game that matters.
You go
Turns 2 and 3, and then either you're tabled or your opponent's tabled, and you can just grab a beer. So this is a very good strat.
And then another good strat is always looking for a fight, which is fight phase just after an enemy unit is destroyed. 1 knobs or mega knobs unit that destroyed the enemy unit. Until the end of the phase, each time they make a consolidation move, they can move up to D3 plus 3 instead of 3. And if the war is active, it's just flat 6.
It's not bad. Being able to move towards the things that you need to move towards. It's an army that wants to be tied up in combat. If you can tag vehicles, if you can get onto an objective, if you can just mess with your opponent outside of the damage you're already bringing, great strat. 1 CP, going to be slamming that at least once a game, I think.
And then finally, Crushing Impact. So for 1 CP, your charge phase just after a knobs or mega knobs unit has ended a charge move. They can select 1 enemy unit with an engagement range, roll a d6 for each model with an engagement range. For each 5 up, the enemy suffers a mortal wound, capped at 6 mortal wounds. But if the war is active, it's triggered on a 4 up.
Yeah, I don't really know why they capped it.
They've started doing that on some of these, and it's
but just like mathematically, you're not getting there anyway. So
no.
I mean, sure, it's fine for consistency, but it's fine. I like these rules when they're on data sheets. I don't love them when they're a strat. But, I'd rather throw a grenade than this.
Yeah, we had a similar one for one of the Dark Angel detachments, and I looked at it and went, nah, I'm all right.
You're taking trucks as well. You're probably going to be running 2 to 3 trucks. So between the grenade strat and the
tank shock,
yeah, there we go. Yeah. I feel like there's better ways to sprinkle in mortal wounds. Sometimes you just need to put mortal wounds on something that's not going to die otherwise, and that's aggressively fine.
Your favourite phrase.
Apparently so, yeah.
So let's go to the list then, I guess.
Absolutely. So this list has 3 units that you're expecting, 4 units that you're expecting. So we'll just quickly blast through those. Warboss with Mega Armor. Got the teleporter upgrade, so it has Deep Strike. 6 Mega Knobs. All the Mega Knobs have the Twin Kill Saws. I think that's just the most efficient profile. You can make an argument for Claws. I'm not making that argument. So let's just say you're putting 1 in reserve, you're going to strat reserve it, going to have a great time. You're going to Deep Strike it, you're going to Rapid Ingress, you're going to have a great time. Then you've got 2 units of Mega Armored Warbosses with 5 Mega Knobs in trucks. And they're only 5 because that's as many as you can fit in a truck with a character. Jobs are good. Then you've got a Warboss with 10 knobs in a truck. They've all got Power Claws. This unit has the highest output of any of your units in your army because you've got way more attacks in there. Yes, the Power Claws aren't quite as good as the Kill Saws, but you've got much higher volume of attacks. Yeah. So this is, you want to slam this into the thing that needs to die. Maybe not something that's got super high toughness, but if you've got like a big brick of Terminators to deal with, for example, you need volume of attacks to get through them. Gone for the enhancement Ed Stomper here, literally just because I had 10 points left. I'm not upset if it goes, but I'm pretty pleased to have it. Yeah. That's all fine. That's all normal. Then there's 2 more Mega War Bosses, and those are with 20 boys. Now, the reason we went with boys instead of the Beast Snagger boys is it's something daft. It's like 55 points to upgrade them to a Beast Snagger boss and Beast Snagger boys.
Yeah.
And obviously the Beast Snagger boys are better, but I don't know if they're 55 points better. What they're here for is your OC, your board control, your screening, just a big brick of T5 models with a 5-up invuln save for the 2 turns of the game that you're going to be really exposing them. And they're there to play the primary game and just sort of choke out your opponent. I think these are very good, and I think you should be starting with 2 units. of foot infantry that are just looking to play the primary game while the rest of your list hits things. I could be convinced to go up to 3. I'm just not sure what I'd cut. There's maybe something in here that you can look at doing. Definitely not Mega Knobs while they're so cheap, because they are cheap right now. After that, there's just some, side pieces. The Commandos, they've got all of the upgrades, which means that they're fairly okay in combat. They've got a little bit of light shooting. They've got some funny bomb squig rules or something like that.
Nice.
They're the upgrades are fine. What they're here for is to stop your opponent from just move blocking you in your deployment, because this army is so vulnerable to being move blocked. Then there's 2 Storm Boys. I'd like to have more Storm Boys. They're very good. They can really get up the board, advance and charge even outside of the war, which is very valuable. You can use them to threaten the back lines. I'd like to fit more in, but again, it's just where you find the points from. And then finally, 10 Gretchen in 1 Runt Herd. They're there to home the hold objective and try and get some extra CP for you. Just a standard in Orc lists. You could go 2 of them. You wouldn't be wrong. But again, points. What are your thoughts on this one?
So what I like is, outside of the Mega Knobs, all the other stuff is basically what I put in every list that I'm writing at the moment, even in Cult of Speed. So like the 10 knobs with power claws in a truck, that works in Cult of Speed. It works in most of the other detachments. So it's actually really nice that you've got these units that aren't just, I've got to play them this one way. And that's what I'm really excited about this book so far. It's like, yes, this is a lot of Mega Knobs, but it's doubling down on the theme. The detachment benefits you doing it, so it makes sense. But then you're not limited to just that. So you still have things like your commandos for the screening, because if you don't screen against things that have got scout as well, so not even just move blocking, but them coming to you before your go turn, you're going to be sad. Like if you're in your deployment zone and you've got world eaters all in your face, it'll be a good fight, but you don't really want that, because then you might have to defensively war, and then no one wants a turn 1 defensive war, because that feels so sad.
Sad state of affairs, isn't it?
But and I like that your problem that you had is the same problem I've been having, where you go, I want more stuff in it. And it's not because you just want to really go kind of, let's just put way too much stuff in it. It's more, everything seems quite exciting in what it can do, and everything's got very well-defined roles, which I'm enjoying. It feels very orky. I want to see this on the table. That's my next step, because I haven't seen Bully Boyz actually played out. I've heard feedback from people playing it, and it sounds pretty good. It's not without its flaws, but I feel like if you want to just
splintered Ricari, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah,
but it's nice that there is a way of playing mechanized orcs without having to lean onto the Cult of Speed as well.
Sure. Yeah, there's a few tricks in there.
Yeah,
lovely. All right. Thank you for watching. As always, we will be back next week with another detachment. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to tune in next week and find out. Don't get too comfortable here.